You know what I love about my listeners? You, specifically you listening to this, you know what I love about you? Every time I post a new episode of Childcare Sights and Sounds, you tap in. You're here. You show up. Even when I am not showing up here, you are here. Especially those of you from Brooklyn. I went back and looked at my analytics again, like I did in the last episode and the episode before that. And I see again that Brooklyn, New York is where the majority of my listeners are coming from. Why? I do not know. I'm not from Brooklyn. I do not have programs in Brooklyn. It doesn't even matter. I'm just appreciative and supportive and feel supportive that I feel supported, excuse me. I feel supported that you are here, you're tuning in, even when I'm not consistent. And for that, I do want to take a second to apologize for my absence. Um, and I feel silly apologizing over and over and over again for taking some time off from posting content or uploading a podcast episode. But I truly feel sorry because, like I said, you show up for me even when I don't show up for myself. So I just wanted to have a full transparency moment before we get into the topic of this video. With that being that the last time I recorded an episode of Childcare Sights and Sounds was back in November 2024, which at the point of me recording right now, that was 3 months ago, because it is now President's Day weekend in February 2025. If you watch the little teaser clips that I post on my YouTube channel, I did post those teaser clips of the previous episodes a little more recently, within the last few weeks. But if you do listen to the full length episode audio only on podcast streaming platforms like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google Podcasts, then you may notice that it has certainly been a while. So I thank you. I thank you for your patience and your grace, as always, over the years. I've been making videos here on YouTube for about 10 years now, just about as long as I've owned childcare businesses. And each time that I go dark, every time I come back, you're here. And I thank you for your patience. I thank you for your grace. Now, for an update, as I usually like to give when I do come back. I may have mentioned this before when making videos in the past, but this is truly an outlet for me. This is where posting online, whether it be in podcast format or especially YouTube video format, has been fun for me over this last decade. I enjoy making content. It is like a passion of mine, like a hobby, more so than it is a business. It's not really, I could and should use it more as a funnel for like services that I could provide, or to grow my childcaresites.com platform. And I do at times, I will be honest, I plug those types of things all the time, but I don't prioritize like getting on here to make that content, because I don't want this to become work for me. um this has been, is now, and I hope that it always will be fun. Showing up for you and telling you about the things that are going on in my business, good, bad, ugly, all of that. Creating content surrounding it is fun for me. And I don't want to lose sight of that by forcing myself to do it even when I don't feel like it. However, I do recognize that there should be some sort of consistency and balance. So while I try to figure that out, I thank you for giving me some space and grace. The last few weeks I have been focusing so much, so much on myself, my health, my wellness, my fitness, my mentality, and I feel like a transforming woman. And I know that sounds insane to say, especially after literally just a few weeks. It's been 5 weeks. I can tell you the moment, the exact moment that I was like, oh no, we're done. We're done doing what I've been doing for the past 10 years, and we're doing something different now. It was January 11th. It was a Saturday. And since that day, January 11, 2025, till now, which now that I am recording this, it is February 17th, 2025. You'll probably be hearing this a few weeks after that. But from now, or since January 11th until now, and hopefully forever, I have been operating as a human, more as a human, and less like a robot. And I mean that I'm laughing, but I mean that in all seriousness with my whole heart. And I really wanted to take a moment to just share with you um, why, a little bit of why, what's been going on, why I feel this way, how things have changed, and why feel like I'm transforming. And I don't mean to say part of me is like, why are you saying anything at all? Like when, you're not necessarily at your goals yet. Um, and honestly, it's because I don't think that the way my goal is to when it comes to my health, wellness, fitness, whatever, like, is to change my lifestyle. So even if I have not yet reached my first like marker of a goal, like just honestly, when it comes to weight loss, right? I have a number of pounds that I would like to lose, and I am slowly trickling, getting towards that number. I haven't reached it yet, but I still would like to share, because even when I hit that goal, there's going to be a different goal. Like I've already got a few goals ahead. Not in terms of like a number, but maybe like body recomposition, or like what the activities that I do during the day. Things like that. I'm like going through little checkpoints in life, and I'm sure as I continue to check things off, there's going to be another thing. So it's less about like, I'm not coming on here to share with you my weight loss journey or my health and fitness, wellness, whatever journey. I'm coming to you to explain why it was necessary to start one. So, a few months ago, I shared with you guys that it has been 10 years since I started my first childcare business. I started off as a home daycare provider in Queens, New York in August 2014. And right now, as I am recording this today, it is February 2025, like I mentioned, and I now own 4 childcare centers in Long Island, New York. And from that moment of August 2014 until January 11th, 2025, I had been operating like a robot. We're going to get into the real talk. I forgot to mention that. It's been a minute since I recorded the podcast, so I forgot my little transition moment. So forgive me, but thanks for being here. Shout out to Brooklyn. Now for real talk. It has been 10 years of waking up, grabbing my computer before I even fully open my eyes, or someone calling me at 6:15 to say that, I mean, this hasn't happened recently, but it was a real issue in years prior where like whoever was supposed to be opening the center maybe was calling out or got locked out. So now it's like 6 a.m. and I got to try to figure out like, oh, how can I get there, whatever. Those kinds of smaller things have been um, solved and have not had to worry about things like that specific example in a while. However, over the years, once I have solved a problem, brand new one would form. And it would just put me in this cycle of like still feeling like it was never ending. Like I was on a hamster wheel of sorts. Like I am continuously trying to improve my practice, be better, do better, have better services, and then something else would happen. And it would bring me right back down to like a negative mindset. And for after rinsing and repeating that cycle of misery, I just kind of stayed there, I've noticed, whether it looked like it or not. And that's the thing with anxiety or depression. I'm not really sure which one I had or if it was both, maybe, probably. Um, but I just felt stuck. I felt stuck even though it may appear like, or even if I felt like, oh wow, I'm this girl, she's living her dream, owning multiple businesses and working from home every day, and I love where I live. I'm in a loving relationship. I have been for some time. I've got a beautiful dog. um, it might seem like, oh, she's living the dream. No, no, girl, I'm in a nightmare every day. And maybe someone in the comments or whatever might diagnose me. I'm not asking for that. Please don't. But you might have your own opinion on what that sounds like. Um, but it's just what my reality was. I was struggling every single day. If and if nothing was wrong, and I have touched on this briefly over the years in different videos. Like I'll talk about like maybe most of my videos I try to keep light. I try to keep it like, oh, this is a problem, this is how we fixed it, and this is how you should do it. Or I'll just talk about like different strategies of how to operate my business. But in that, I might discuss like, oh, I've been feeling anxious. Um, but I never really like fully went into it because this is not, I didn't feel as if like, oh, this was that type of platform. Like this is not a mental health podcast. I'm not a therapist. My channel is not about therapy. I don't know. I just felt like this was not an appropriate space for it. However, um, y'all got a lot of different childcare business creators out there nowadays, whether that be on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. You have a lot of places to specifically just go for inspiration and joy and fun and funny or relatable or like educational how-tos. And I will still give my how-tos and my strategies because that's the content that I really enjoy making. However, it can't hurt here and there for me to literally just be real with you about how it is for me, a 31-year-old, unmarried, childless Black woman who has been operating childcare businesses for 10 years, to share my experience. Like, if you are like me or wanting to operate in the way that I'm operating and your lifestyle is like mine, maybe the realness of what I have gone through over the years will be helpful for you in deciding. Mm, maybe I don't want to say whether you want to do this or not, because even given all that I have done and gone through and experienced, given all of that, I would still do it again. I mean, I can't imagine doing anything else, which sounds literally insane. It sounds like, oh, you're making it sound so bad, horrible, horrific. You're anxious, depressed, but you're still you would do it again. Yeah, I would. Um, I would. Because what else am I gonna do? And not to say like, oh, what else am I gonna do? I'm not qualified or wouldn't be able to do anything else, because I can. I got degrees, I got experience, I got the stuff that's needed to do other things. I'm skilled in a few other areas, but I truly, like, would I be happy? I'm going to confidently say no. I don't think that I would be happy doing anything else. And uh, because I don't think that my unhappiness over the years is a result specifically of what I have been doing, meaning running my businesses. My unhappiness is coming from, or has come from, me internally. It's come from my mindset. It's come from me not knowing what to prioritize, or how to uh shift my focus when necessary. So I'll talk about that for a little. When I started in childcare, I was if we want to take it all the way back, I was 15, 16. I was babysitting for like a year or two. I was tutoring, and then eventually I delusionally just walked into a childcare center and said that I wanted to work there. Got the job. Fantastic. That was my senior year of high school. Kept the job and went full time after high school. Ended full time working while I was a freshman in college. Why? I don't know. I didn't have to like pay low, like, I was blessed enough to have the gift of my mom giving me an undergraduate education for free. So it wasn't even like I had to work in order to pay for my college tuition or bills, or I really could have just chilled. Like, I could not chill, but I could have just gone to class and had fun with my friends, and I did do that. But I also worked my butt off for years when I really didn't need to. And would I do that again? Maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't work as hard or as much as I was when I was a literal teenager, especially when I didn't have to, but that work ethic was just in me. And so after that, I don't want to get too caught up in that. After that, uh eventually I started looking into what it took to open a childcare business, and realized that it would be pretty simple, quick, and easy or ish to open a home daycare. I've told the story so many times in different ways. Go to youtube.com/Jenny Christine to find my videos of how I got started and whatnot. But I was 20. I was 20 years old, just approaching 21, when I found a house that was suitable for home daycare and started my business there. And it, like I said, it was a home daycare. So in New York, that means that if you own a home daycare, the primary person, the program, like director, as many would call it, or what we call it in New York is an on-site provider. The on-site provider has to live in the house. So it's not like I could separate myself from my business at that time. It really locked me into this mindset of like, oh, my life is my business. That's what I think. That's how I think this mindset all started. My life is my business. And I would wake up 6:30. My hours have always been 6:30 to 6:30, even when I was a home daycare provider, and now 6:30 to 6:30. Um, Wake up at 6:30. In some years it was I had a child whose parent wanted me to watch their child earlier than 6:30, like 5:30 or 5:45 they would drop off sometimes. And because I had no backbone, I would say yes. Or because I was afraid of losing the family, whatever, I would say yes. Um so it was really crack open my eyes, immediately go downstairs and start like providing care. And I don't mean to talk about it as if it's this crazy thing that hundreds of thousands of people don't do today, because they do. Home daycare is a successful business that many providers across the country and probably the world do happily. And I was happy for some time, I think. But I was always like striving for more. And also, I was still, I forget that I was still in school when I shifted from, like, when I left the job that I was at and opened my home daycare at 20. I was still in undergrad. I was going into my senior year of college. So I was just always doing so much. And I did make time for myself in terms of like having fun and doing things that I wanted to do rather than working. But it was never like, oh, I'm going to close and do this instead of working. It was on the weekends, or, yep, that's it. Just at that time, it was just on the weekends, I'm going to go out and have fun. And I did in those moments. But then, even like a few years into it, I would still feel the dread of having to wake up on a Monday morning and go back into this hamster wheel, is what it felt like to me. And then shifting into fast forwarding into when I got the opportunity to open a center-based location. It wasn't much different. The only difference is that I didn't literally sleep there. I was waking up, immediately running to the center. At that time of me opening my center-based location, I was still operating my home daycare. I'm so blessed to have had the help of my cousin. I did a podcast episode with her about 2 years ago. It's on my YouTube channel. You could watch the full episode on YouTube. She was basically took over running my home daycare so that I could start my center. And I'm so grateful that I had her. And at the same time, it was still like a lot. It was still stressful waking up trying to make sure she's good, they're good in the house before I ran out to go to the center. And then I would stay at the center until way after closing. I used to be there all hours of the night. We closed at 6:30. I was there until 9, 10, 11, 12, sometimes 1 a.m. And it would be just working, like working towards something. And it's so hard for me to like, I can't just pinpoint what specifically I was working on. It was always just some next goal. And I don't want to mislead you and think and say that like that's bad. I think if you do own a business and you have the uh you want the business to be successful, it has to grow in some, like you start a business, you probably need it to grow in order to begin breaking even and then eventually be profitable. So you do have to work towards growth, which I understand. But eventually that that uh, I don't know, should it stop? I guess as I'm talking this through with you, I'm like, is it wrong? What I was doing wrong? No, I'm not. I guess I'm not saying that it was wrong. It was needed in order to get to where we are today. The drive and um, dedication that I had to working was needed, but it wasn't um, making me happy. It was actually making me very anxious. Um, yeah, it was just making me anxious. And I guess the majority of my anxiety didn't come from like feeling like, oh, I'm not meeting my goals. It was really more so worrying about what was going on in the program if I wasn't there, or what could happen today. Like I've had a few like scares over the years of random things that not just related to like the kids or parents. Like it could be staff, it could be financial troubles, it could be incidents, it could be literal the state of the world. My we started I started my business in 2014, like I said, and then 5 years later COVID-19 started to outbreak, and then we had the shutdown in 2020. And at that point we had just one location and we were going into two. It was a lot of trauma in the world, a lot to be anxious about. Um, and still, through that, we have been successful. But still, I have been unhappy. I feel like I had been lacking emotion in many occasion. I feel like I have been lacking, I know that I had been lacking routine. I was not caring about my health at all. Uh, I had been lacking joy. And I know that it seems crazy to say, especially for anyone who knows me personally, anyone who I have gone out with over the last 10 years, in terms of like go out, like to have fun in my early 20s, going to parties or clubs or bars or whatever, going on vacation with. I did do those things. Definitely not as much as I would have liked or should have, I feel. But I did do those things, and I did enjoy the experience in the moment most of the time. But as far as just like an internal joyous feeling, I have realized lately that my life has lacked joy. And not my life, the last third of my life, the last 10 years has just lacked joy. And that is so sad to admit. Um, Even in times where like I felt like, oh, I'm happy, it would be a fleeting feeling after like a day, maybe. And that's not cool. It's not right. It's not necessary. It's not like I was, you know, living this horrible lifestyle, or it's not like there's no reason for it. There's no reason that I shouldn't be feeling joy. I come from a really huge, loving, supportive, unconditionally loving, I should say, big family that has always supported me throughout my whole entire life. Great parents who are the reason why I am where I am today. Um, Now in a very happy relationship for the past year and a half. Like, I can list a number of things that I should be grateful for and am and always have been. But despite having those things, not to mention the businesses, like, despite having those things, I have still felt a lack of joy. And I have felt like a I truly feel like what I was experiencing was the definition of workaholism, of being a workaholic. I am addicted to my work. When I'm not working, I'm thinking about my work being the literal activities or tasks that need to get done in my business to grow the business or to just sustain. Sometimes it wasn't even about like thriving, it was just about surviving day to day. That's how it has been in certain seasons over the years. And but even when it wasn't that, even when things were good, I just felt the need to always be working. And I think that where that stems from is just it could be a feeling of guilt that I had um as the business started to grow, right? Like, at first it was just me for honestly not that long. Because I was in school. When I had my home daycare, I was in school. It was summer at first, so in those first couple of months it was just me because I wasn't in classes, or my classes were at night. But shortly thereafter, I was like, oh, I need help. And I hired someone. And so it was just me and one person, or just me and two people in my home daycare for quite some time. And then thankfully, enrollment started to pick up. I had to go student teach in elementary schools all day long. So I literally needed more people. And that's how I began hiring and had a pretty decent chunk of staff as a home daycare provider. But after I graduated, it like I kind of went back to, for a short period of time before opening the center, I went back to helping more, even more hands-on in my program. And so I think that feeling the need to constantly be on this laptop or on my desktop or on my phone, like working towards something, stems from being literally, I guess for lack of a better term at the moment, like in the trenches with my staff. Um, Not trenches, please. Um, but I was doing it all for a bit, and then I didn't have to anymore, so I stopped. But then I started, like, I have these visions of things getting bigger and better, and do not even just in terms of like the number of children enrolled or the number of programs that I have, but also like just creating a better experience. That's my goal at the moment. Like, just creating a better experience for my staff, for my people, and creating a better experience for the children and families as well. Um, but in order to do that, we at the time would need more income, uh, which would mean needing more children, more uh, room for more kids, all these things. It was always more, 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 more. And I know that my staff does not know what I do. I know that my team is not fully aware of all the tasks and all the uh, responsibilities, I guess, that I have on a day-to-day basis. And it always felt like, oh, if, especially back then, like when it was just my home daycare or just one center, I guess I kind of felt guilty for not being physically there all the time. And especially after I moved, when I left, shifting from being in my, and I'm so sorry, I feel like I'm bouncing around, but hopefully you can understand. And if you can't, thank you for listening. But before I opened my second and third location, I was uh living in New York, obviously, like I mentioned, and staying working in my center until all hours of the night every day. So then, like, I did a hard pivot. What I feel was a hard pivot, but probably really wasn't if I truly try to think back to how I did this. But um, I pivoted to moving 100 miles away to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania from Long Island, New York. So obviously now I'm not going into my centers at all. And honestly, it is something that I am happy, still very happy that I did, because without doing that move and literally removing myself from having to be there every day, we wouldn't have grown, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I still stand by that decision. But it was mentally hard for me to make that move and then feel like, oh, well, now people are going to think that I'm not doing anything. And maybe that's not even true. Um, maybe I'm sure that my team does know that I do work, but I think that, I guess sometimes I think that they think, and I'm not talking about like my administrators, my directors, like I speak to them every day. They know what I'm doing. But like my teachers and the assistant teachers and the classroom direct care staff, um, I don't have a personal relationship like I used to. Um, and it's not that I feel like I'm wrong for that. I just, the way that I am working, the way that I have to focus on certain things in order to sometimes still, like in order to sustain, but in also in order to grow and achieve goals and be able to do great things for them, I can't have a one-on-one, the same sort of one-on-one individual personal relationship like I used to. And sometimes that bothers me. But going back to like why it took such a mental toll in the beginning, I truly believe it was because it was just such a drastic change. Um, so yeah, I felt as if it was necessary. If I couldn't be there with them in the class every day, I'm going to make sure I am working on something at all times. So as soon as I open my eyes in the morning, not anymore, but, and honestly, it's like I stopped doing this within the last year. I have really haven't needed to, but it used to be as soon as I opened my eyes in the morning, I would grab my laptop before I even get up, go to the bathroom, nothing. Grab my laptop, sit on the bed, and start either answering emails or preparing documents or responding to families or checking our CRM system or sending out registration forms. I'm literally, there's always something to do. Even as I sit here now, full transparency, I paused this podcast recording a few minutes ago to conduct an interview. We are closed today. It's Monday, February 17th is President's Day. So we're closed. But someone, the way that we have our CRM set up for hiring is that they can schedule interviews themselves. And I forgot to block out this day. as like not available. So I was like, might as well. And honestly, that's not really even a big deal to me. We need somebody hired at the centers. Um, so I took the time to do the interview a few minutes ago. But it's like the work comes before anything. It comes before what I need to do for myself and what damn sure before what I want to do for myself. And that is not always good, regardless of the reason for it, but regardless of me wanting to be this way because I feel like I'm not there in person, so I must work as hard as possible from home. Like, why? Even if, like, I really want to get to a point where even if I am, uh, even if I have nothing to do, for like no work to do from home each day, I'm fine with it. I have slowed in having this realization on January 11th. In having this realization, I have slowed down a lot. I have deprioritized, decentered the need to constantly be working on something for my business, and instead have shifted to prioritizing what my body needs, what my stomach needs to eat. Like, that's a whole nother thing. Like, I would not eat all day, not eat breakfast, not drink water. It would be like 7 p.m. before I even think about food, and then when I finally eat, it's crap because that's what I was in the mood for. Or I would order, whatever, up until the last month. I'm not talking about like in the beginning. I'm talking about 10 years in. I have nothing else to focus on. So I wasn't focusing on anything else. Um, but yeah, so I guess let me just shift to why I changed. Or how, not why, because all of that is the why. Like, obviously, it was very unhealthy for me to function this way. I was not really prioritizing any relationships that I had outside of um, my boyfriend, who I see every day. So that's easy because we spend every day together. Um, but outside of that, it was just talking like on a daily basis. I would only talk to my administrators or my staff whenever they needed anything, my team, or my dad, really. And my dad is my business partner. So it would be mostly talking about business. And not to say like I have an amazing relationship with my dad, and it's not only about business with him, but it was mostly um and as far as like my other family, other friends, it was kind of just when I get a chance, I'll talk to them. And that's not right. Um and I realized like, oh, it starts with myself. Like, I'm not making time for anybody else because I'm not making time for myself as a human. I'm not enjoying life on a daily basis. I'm literally only enjoying it when we have a school break. We take 1 week off in the summer. The week of 4th of July, we are closed. And I would look every year, just look forward to that 1 week because I know I'll be able to guilt free shut my laptop and not worry about anything. Like, I won't have to be anxious about what's going on in the programs. I won't have to respond to anybody. I won't excuse the laptop right now. Let me mute that thing. Um, I won't have to uh do anything that I don't want to do. And even then, I still would find myself like in the moments where I don't have to do something. Like I don't have to respond to, or I should say, we're not going on an excursion. Like if I am on a vacation, if we weren't doing a group activity or we weren't going on an excursion, if it's just time to lay around and relax, I was pulling out my laptop. Like, let's be real. And maybe when it comes to that, many of you listening could relate if you already have your uh, programs up and running. Like, you know that it's very rare to have free time sometimes. So when you do have free times, you can focus on the things that you want to do instead of the things that you have to do in a way. But yeah, anybody that I've ever gone on a trip with can tell you there is going to be a time where Dani's pulling out her laptop to work. And that's not fun. I am no fun, or I have been no fun. And I really want to change that. I am actively changing that. Like I said in the beginning, I am transforming my mindset first. My mindset first. And the way that I'm doing that is by centering my health and wellness. Every day I have been waking up, and instead of worrying about who needs what, I am either like, I sometimes mix around. I do, the past month and a half, I have been following the same routine. Well, I guess it's not a routine if I'm mixing it. I'm following the same steps of a routine, but sometimes I'll mix it up depending on how I feel. So in the mornings now, instead of immediately grabbing my laptop to work, I am slowly waking up, not forcing myself to be up at 6:30 just because I am excuse my attention deficit for me hopping all over the place. But instead of I'm not an early bird as much as I would want to be, as much as you might think I am, because for 10 years now I've been waking up to run my business at 6:30 in the morning. When I tell you, even in my home daycare, if I had to open the door by 6:30, I was waking up at 6:15. Just brushing my teeth, washing my face, changing my clothes, immediately run downstairs. And since shifting to not having to go anywhere, I was not even doing that. Like I said, I was just grabbing my laptop and immediately getting to work. So instead of doing that, I'm taking the time that I need to comfortably wake up and get my mind right. Over the years, like I have incorporated like praying every morning. And prior to this shift of like focusing on myself, I would rush through my prayer, like, because I would try to pray before grabbing my laptop. At least if I'm not going to brush my teeth, like, girl, at least thank God for waking up. So I would try to uh immediately open my, or sometimes I wouldn't even open my eyes. I would just roll over and start praying. And then when I open my eyes, grab my laptop. That was such a horrible praying experience. Now I take my time, wake up fully. Sometimes, like, I will get up and, take care of what I need to take care of in the bathroom. I'll put music on if I like, or sometimes, most of the time it's a podcast. Sometimes if I'm in the mood, I'll put on music. I make myself a hot drink. It might be soursop tea. Today it is hot water with apple cider vinegar. Sometimes it's coffee if I'm gonna do like an early morning workout, because I like to do use coffee sometimes as like a pre-workout. Is that right? I don't know. I heard it somewhere. I feel like it worked for me once, and now every so often I do it. So yeah, sometimes it's hot water with lemon. I'll drink a hot drink is what I'm getting at. I will say a prayer. I'll read the Bible. I'll do a crossword puzzle and a mix of those things, or sometimes two or three of those things. And like, I just do a couple things for me before anybody else. Literally anybody else. I'm I wouldn't be able to do that if things were not perfectly fine at my centers. And I'm 100% confident to say that in the mornings, everything is perfectly fine. Nobody needs me as like if there's no emergency happening, like God, like if there is an emergency, yes, someone's going to bring it to my attention, and yes, I'll prioritize that, but that doesn't happen. Not even knocking on wood, thanking God, because it doesn't happen. We have an amazing team of teachers. We have an amazing leadership team. We have great administrators. We have plan A, plan B, plan C. Everybody's got what they need to function in the morning. So there's that. But I don't know why. And it's been that way. Like that didn't just start January 11th. It's been that way for some time. Nobody has really ever needed me first thing in the morning. I can count maybe on one hand the amount of time someone absolutely needed me. But even with that fact, I still felt like, oh, I have to get up and answer this email right now. No, girl, you don't. You don't need to answer that email right now. The things that I literally only me, the things that I need to do when it comes to like my responsibilities as the owner of the business, the things that I need to do, I can't even really start doing them until like 9-10 a.m. because it involves getting in contact with other people like partners or state agencies or the government. And they're not answering the phone at no 6:37 a.m. And if don't let it be on a different time zone. Obviously, I'm not getting in touch until the afternoon. So, if that is true, what was I so pressed about? Anyway, start my morning now with a hot drink, with some prayer, with some reading. In addition to reading the Bible, sometimes, like if I really like push myself or care to, I'll read a book. I'm currently reading The Slight Edge, which also has been helpful in realizing like, oh, something needs to change. The book talks about a moment of disgust, which I very much had with myself on New Year's Day. New Year's Day, I won't go too much into it right now because that's a whole nother story in itself. But on New Year's Day, I was so over me. And that was the moment truly where I realized something needs to change and something needs to change fast. But it didn't happen until 10 days later. So after doing my, hot drink readings, I will also write in a journal. I don't write every day. I started to, and then I realized I don't want to write every day. I do want to write at least a few times a week, but I don't really care to push myself to write every single day. So outside of, once I'm done with those morning routines of reading, writing, drinking a hot drink, saying a prayer, then I will calmly and with a smile on open my laptop and start responding to things. By that point, there might be some questions from my uh, administrative team or from our parent coordinator or our virtual assistant. There might be some things that I need to either sign off on or give my permission, like say yay or nay, and I'll dedicate like an hour or two to just tasks like that. Then I will go to the gym for the first time in the day because as of the last 5 weeks, I have been going to the gym every day at least once, and specifically the last 3 weeks I've been going at least twice, most days I can think of maybe like 2 or 3 days where I only went once. But I've been going to the gym at least twice. Sometimes there's been a couple days where I went 3 times. Um, but yeah, I will go to the gym. I will come back and eat lunch. I will eat lunch. I'm tracking my protein intake. I'm staying in a calorie deficit. I have eliminated alcohol from my diet. I haven't had a drink since 2024. Yes, that was only uh 2 months ago, but still claps and snaps for me. um I have just been so happy focusing on my health and feeling good, literally, not like, not mentally or emotionally, like, no, I literally feel physically good. And I don't think that I can recall a time where I have ever felt physically as good as I do right now. And it's not even about like looks, like, um, yes, I mean, I guess I want to look better, but I didn't think I looked bad, guys. Like, I really was perfectly fine with how I looked in the mirror every day, no matter what size I have been over the years. It really is just about like get realizing, oh girl, you're getting older. You're getting older, and my body was not able to move in certain ways like it has before. Like, I would feel pains or pinches in different places, in my back and my legs. I just didn't feel good. It mentally, emotionally checked out of feeling good 10 years ago. But now it was catching up to me physically. And I realized if I don't do something about it now, quickly, it was going to get way worse and probably be irreversible. And I am still feeling like I'm at the start of my adult life, because that's another thing. I have felt um, stuck in a childlike state of mind, not child, but like adolescent state of mind. I feel like I had adult responsibilities for so long, even in my adolescence, um, that have caused me to feel stuck. No, I don't know. I feel I'm not even gonna, that's another conversation too. And I don't want to get too sidetracked because it's already been an hour that I've been filming this. And I thank you if you're still listening to this point. But I have felt so bad in recent years, physically bad, that I didn't want to get to a point where it was irreversible. I'm getting older and I still do have a desire to make the most out of life. Whenever I knew that I had faith, I should say, not I knew, but I did have faith that I would eventually figure my stuff out and would be able to create a healthy lifestyle. I wanted to be healthy. If I am blessed enough to have children in the near future, I wanted to create a healthy environment for them. And if I was sedentary and unhappy and unhealthy, there's no way that I would bring kids into this world and they would be the opposite. Like, I want to focus on myself now before I have to focus on little versions of me. And I've joked about that, not joked, but I've mentioned in the past that, oh, I don't have, I'm not married, I don't have kids, it's me and my dog. There's nothing else better for me to focus on. So that's why I work as much as I do. And I am here to tell you now that is the wrong mindset to have. I I do not have someone else that I am responsible for, correct, because I'm not a mother, but I have me. I have me to be responsible for, and I was neglecting that. I was neglecting me. And I truly now understand, like, how can you love anybody else when you don't love yourself? Because seeing the shift in just 5 weeks, and I truly hope I don't sound ridiculous, but seeing this shift in just 5 weeks of being consistent and eating right and going and moving my body and taking in good information, reading, writing, all that, like, I feel like I am pouring into me and loving me in a way that I have literally never done before. And I just really hope and pray that I can continue confidently doing so. Um, and really create like a lifestyle, a forever lifestyle for generations to come after this. I feel like it was always instilled in me from young to work hard, get good grades, do this, do that. Like, you just work, 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 work. And not because I had to. I really don't want to get that confused. It's not because like I was contributing to the household. Never that. It was, I was very comfortable growing up and happy, like, no sort of like, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was just like, in terms of grades, I should say, like schoolwork grades, um, just constant praise for being for achieving excellence. And then that excellent achievement mindset, uh, I guess carried over into doing work and just doing as much as possible at all times. Like, I don't want to do it anymore. I just don't. I want to I want to be successful in all that we, meaning myself, my dad, my team, at my centers, I want us to be the best of the best of the best of the best. Where we are currently, um, I want to focus on not being uh, so hyper fixated on working and thinking that being a workaholic is cute, because it's not. I'm tired of saying I was busy or I was doing something. I just, I want to literally do whatever I want to do. And I think that um sometimes, like, discipline is important, and that is something that I have lacked over the years, like being disciplined. I wouldn't, and I know that's crazy to say, like, I'm telling you about how I've worked so hard over the years and was so dedicated, focused on the work, that we grew from home daycare to 4 centers in these 10 years. That's different. That was a hyperfixation. That was literal addiction to working. But being disciplined in things that were important, like eating right, moving my body, showing love, those things were very much lacking in my life. So I would like to be more disciplined. I would like to also do things that I want to do and do things that I know I need to do for me and not feel guilty about it. That's where my focus is now, and hopefully for the rest of time. I believe that the past decade of sacrifices that I have made with my mental health, relationships, um, uh, maybe not relationships, let me not say that, but my the everything that I just discussed over the last 10 years, um, it Could you say that it was a sacrifice to be where I am right now? I guess you could argue that, but was it right? I don't know. Anyway, I have rambled your ear off. Hopefully, if you're driving, you are to wherever you've gone to. Hopefully, if you were doing the dishes or doing your makeup or whatever it is that you do while you listen to podcasts, I hope it's done. I use podcasting to help me get through, or I should say, I use listening to podcasts as a way to get me through whatever unenjoyable task it is that I'm doing in the moment. These days, it's usually me walking on the treadmill, walking on the treadmill or being on the Stairmaster. I'll be listening to podcasts, or if I'm driving somewhere, um, I'd love to know when and how you listen. What are you doing right now? Put it in the comments on the clip on YouTube. Or, as I've learned recently, you can comment on Spotify. So leave your comment in Spotify. Let me know what you do while you're listening. But yeah, that's a little bit about where I have been, I guess, mentally for the past couple of months since I last recorded. I do want to move over into the consultant's corner before I jump off this episode. Before I say see you later, let me answer this question. Someone named Joni Carly, asked on my video titled Open a Daycare Center, How to Start a Childcare Business in a Commercial Property. This video was from 2023, but a couple days ago, Joni asked, hi, can you, or I should say, Joni commented, hi, can you assist me with getting my daycare out of my SSN and LLC it in my EIN? Those are a lot of acronyms. SSN stands for Social Security Number. LLC stands for Limited Liability Company. And EIN stands for Employer Identification Number. So she's asking, how can she change her daycare setup, her structure? She's currently operating as under her Social Security number, and she wants to change that to be her LLC, her to as a business entity instead of her personally, which I would highly recommend, just from the recommendations that I have received over the years. Specifically answering her question, can you assist me? No, I cannot assist with that because I am not a CPA or an attorney who specializes in that. But the way that I will assist and answer this question is by recommending that you find one, and not just for the purpose of this, because it is great to make sure that you are removing your personal liability as far away as possible from your business entities, whatever type of business you're operating, especially if it entails working with people's most prized possession, like their children. They care about nothing over their children, as they shouldn't. So you want to make sure that you are protecting your personal interests, your children if you have them, your family, and you should not be running your business as an individual under your Social Security number. You should have an EIN or a tax ID, and you, aside from that, you should have a business entity set up like an LLC or a corporation to protect you, your financial assets, and protect your personal liability. There are different opinions on what setup is best. Should you be an LLC? So should you be an S corp? Should you be a C corp? Should you have a partnership? Should you this? Should you that? It's very much dependent upon your goals in your business, and what you have to protect, I guess, like what, what your assets are and what other types of businesses you may have. It would be best for you to consult with an attorney or, and not even or, an attorney and a CPA, a certified public accountant, who can look at your specific situation and advise you on the best corporate structure to have. They would likely also be able to literally form the corporation for you, like filing all the necessary paperwork with your state and giving you those documents to submit to your licensing agency, because I don't know where you're located, Joni, but you will likely need to take that paperwork and send it to your licensor. Or if it is like New York State, if you're changing the social security number or the EIN or tax ID that you're going to be doing business with, then unfortunately that would mean you have to submit a whole new license application. And, now it is no longer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 social security number operating this business. It's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tax ID LLC operating the business. And I know that's a very broad explanation, but you might need to get your license changed over into your new entity's name, which could be a task and a half in itself. But not hard, just very tedious, right? If you've done it once, you can do it again. So that's what I would recommend. And lastly, for the weekly win, this has been a long episode. For the weekly win, I would say that this week, I am happy that I've been able to stay on a consistent streak of my move goal. If you know anything about the Apple Watch, which I'm rocking here today and have been rocking every day for the past 5 weeks, you can set goals on your watch where you burn a certain number of calories, you do a certain number of minutes of exercise, and you stand up a certain amount of times in the day, which sounds silly, but honestly, once you turn on that stand goal and you realize damn, I sit a lot, you'll realize, or maybe it's just me. But if you are in a more sedentary job, or if you do work from home, you might notice wow, I'm not really moving throughout the day. Well, because now I have been working out very frequently, I set my move goal to a certain amount of calories to be burned. And I think I'm on day 14 or day 15 of a streak of making sure that I hit that move goal at least. Usually I'm exceeding it by a few dozen calories, but I'm at least hitting it every single day for the past 14, 15 days. I don't know what it last updated to. Prior to that, I know 5 weeks is more than 15 days, but prior to that, I was focusing primarily on my the exercise minutes and making sure that I close the exercise ring, or I was focusing on making sure, I first started this fitness journey by walking 3 miles every day. So for the first 2 weeks, I was making sure that I hit the 3-mile mark on the treadmill. I'm fine with the treadmill. I know some people hate it, but I love it. I feel like walking outside would not serve me as well as seeing as you might be able to tell, I'm really into numbers and checkpoints and goals. So seeing the numbers, the amount of minutes and the exact mileage on the treadmill helps to motivate me to stay on there. Like, okay, just a few more minutes or just this many 0.25 more miles. Like, it's easier for me that way. So yeah, at first, the first couple weeks, I was just focusing on hitting 3 miles. Then I shifted into like, I'll actually exercise, like, I'll do workouts, like different core exercises or strength training, or getting on the Stairmaster has been kind of fun. But now that my Apple Watch has been like alerting me, oh, you have reached a new streak. I think the first day it did it was day 8 of closing my move ring every single day. I'm like, okay, bet I'm going to close this ring every day, no matter what. So sometimes I'll find myself in the gym until 11:30 p.m. because my ring has not closed for the day. And you might be listening to this thinking like, "Oh, this girl is crazy." I do tend to hyperfixate on things, but if it turns out that my new hyperfixation is health and fitness, I promise you I'm okay with that. And with that, I'm going to end this episode. Please like, comment, subscribe, uh, rate and review, hit all the buttons and do all the things to engage with this episode. Definitely share what has stuck out to you the most. If you can relate to anything that I have said, I would be so grateful if you share your experience, even if it is in a DM. You can follow me on Instagram at Dani Christine Consulting, and hopefully you see me next week. Bye.